Good morning. So this morning I thought I would take some time to work on the shoulder and just give a really great way to open it up fascially. A couple things you can use are a spiky ball, but it is a little bit intense. Something softer is better. And basically right through here is your sternum. You have your sternal notch, your clavicle or collarbone, and acromion through here. So oftentimes what ends up happening is our pecs get really tight and we start to fall forward. So you want to find the sternum, and what you can do is you can actually start by working just with your fingers. So just to give a little close up here, right through my sternal notch, and I'm just going to reach onto the opposite side. So this bone right here is my sternal notch, and you can actually see when I press my fingertips that is the beginning portion of my pectoral muscle. So I'm going to take my left hand, place it right on the ridge of my sternal notch, take my 3 top fingers, and just begin to slowly pull. This is not a very comfortable feeling. It can be very uncomfortable, and you want to keep that feeling of pressure all the way through to the very edge of the pectoral. And you want to continue that all the way through. And I'm just for time purposes speeding this up. You can even use your opposite hand, and that opposite hand, especially when you get up to that center point at the edge of the sternal knot and underneath the clavicle, you're going to apply not inward pressure, but you want to have your hand as flat as possible and slowly sliding it underneath that acromion. The clavicle, all the way to the edge of that acromion, right into there. Once you get there, you're going to allow yourself, you can see here if I drop my arm slowly versus the other arm, this one has a little bit more of a drop since I've worked it. Smaller movements are easier than bigger movements at this point. And you don't want to do this too often or too much. You don't want to fascially release too much through that shoulder joint. Once you get in there, you're going to feel a little ridge, and that's the beginning portion of the anterior deltoid. At this point, you're going to maintain that ridge as you elevate and lower down. So we want to do this with as much control as possible. Once you get into that range of motion, you're going to extend your arm, rotate your palm, and you're going to feel a neural stretch all through the inside of the arm. So my thumb rotated as far back as possible and rotating downward, keeping the pressure on that area there on the left hand right at that acromion joint and rotating inside there. So right now we're rotating that humerus and radiating ulnar nerve. Doing a couple of shoulder rolls here. So right now you can do this on both sides. The next thing is you can extend your arm up, place the spiky ball, squishy ball, or any kind of ball underneath that arm. This is where breath becomes important. And as you exhale, you're going to draw the arm closer to the body. Especially if you're a rounded type person, you can actually facilitate a little tiny upper thoracic extension when you're doing this. You can also add a little bit of an external and internal rotation with the arm to release through there. And really just adjusting, getting that ball right underneath that armpit. So the big thing is you don't want to squeeze too hard because we do have a lymphatic system in here, and we don't want to damage that lymph node system. So as you're doing these gentle shoulder rolls, you can probably feel a whole lot of clicking and cracking and releasing work. And this is how you can release underneath through that teres major, teres minor. We're going to actually maintain that as we stretch to the side, back up, stretch to the side. So just going to let you guys see this from the back portion. You want to really try to pay attention to what's happening through that shoulder region. The next thing that we're going to talk about is protraction and retraction. So protraction is the scapula's going away from each other and your arms reaching further in front. Retraction is trying to pull the shoulders back together. The whole time your elbow is staying nice and straight. And those muscles that you're using to retract are the rhomboid minor and rhomboid major. So typically you need to release through here through manual massage therapy. But because we're unable to see clients right now, you can actually take a ball and lay down on it and just releasing that region. The other thing is as you take your towel or your yoga strap, you're having a nice sense of pulling apart. And you can probably see my shoulder blades are starting, in between my shoulder blades are starting to work, and there should be flesh. So if you're feeling like your shoulders are retracting, try to find a neutral component to where you can pull those shoulder blades apart and maintaining that. Again, when you're doing this work, you want to make sure that your wrists are nice and long. So you've got that nice contraction through the shoulder and your wrists are nice and long. The shoulders are not elevated or depressed. You're pulling that apart and you can elevate and lower. You can see how the shoulder functions. The goal of this is to make it, I'm just going to turn slightly to the side, to make it so that when you're doing this work, your shoulders are able to maintain a neutral position so that they're not overly winging. Okay, so we also want to make sure that we pay attention to our latissimus dorsi under through here. So when we bring our arms up, we can think about pulling the towel tight and just dropping those shoulders down slowly. Maintain the ribcage connection and core connection as you pull the towel apart. And in this position, you can actually add a neural stretch through the neck. And lowering down. Each of those isometric holds through the front, overhead, pulling down. You want to try to hold up to 30 seconds, up to 2 minutes without any kind of pain or compensation. The big thing is you really want to start to bring awareness to what is actually happening in the shoulder girdle. And all of this movement is done extremely slowly, and it's done with a lot of control. Not a lot of movement in the shoulder needs to be big right now. A lot of it is going to be a minimal amount of movement for a maximum amount of result. The other thing you can do is against a windowsill or against a wall, a very small push. So you want to make sure you're getting a nice neutral position. Pinky ring finger are kind of pressing down. You've got your arms kind of turning outward, and that's going to just help to support that shoulder. And you can just bend the elbows. And what you're really trying to do is pay attention to the fact that you're not dropping through your shoulder blades. So you can actually practice your retraction and protraction here to warm that shoulder joint up. And then when you find your neutral, you can practice your elevation and depression and find your neutral between there. And as you bend those elbows, you want to get down as far as you can and just maintain that. And as you're pushing up, you're not just trying to work the tricep, you're trying to maintain everything alive between the shoulder blades, underneath the shoulder blades, and through the front of it. So oftentimes neutral is described where the glenohumeral joint is in line with the ear, and that you have a nice level across the front and a level across the back and a sense of a V drawing down the back. So I hope this video for you was helpful this morning, and I will touch base with you as soon as I possibly can, or when you have an availability to let me find out how you were doing. And I hope that you are able to enjoy this and just practice those simple movements to help release and relax your shoulder. I'm just going to quickly finish with a little bit of a neck thing. When you go to laterally flex, just guide your head back up. You could definitely take your head and look down, coming back up and back to center. and back to center. And of course, opposite shoulder rolls are a very good option. I'm currently using a Therapane, and it's a roll-on, and it's just a really nice way to, after you're done some of that work, to rub on. Of course, any kind of anti-inflammatories. Arnica is a really good one for you, and same thing with trying to maintain movement through the shoulder at all times. So a big thing is just start to be conscious of where they are in space, and because you have a very sort of upward rotation through that shoulder, we are going to have to meet again and start to work the extension portion of the body, but right now we kind of want to just reestablish a neutral through the shoulder girdle. Thanks, and I hope you have a great day.